Streaming live now on News8000.com. You're watching WKBT La Crosse. This is News 8 Now, this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dua Shar.
I'm Derek Sibley.
It is September 19th, 2023. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Or in my case, happy Monday.
Yeah, welcome back, by the way.
Thanks. Well, it was weird when I came back because, you know, I was in Oklahoma, and so the weather over there was gorgeous. It was very, very humid and hot for me. The Oklahomans were like, this is our fall weather. Right. And I was like, it is like 80 degrees. I don't know what you're talking about. But over here, it's been chillier and definitely raining. I remember I landed and it was around 55 on a day. And I was like, wow. Like, what a difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference when you gain latitude, right, as far as what the weather can be. So right now we're tracking some showers here on the radar picture this morning, but a lot of those showers are mainly focused down to the south. So we'll go ahead and zoom in on some of those showers, and they're still pretty heavy up towards the Richland Center area. And that is where we're seeing some heavy downpours currently taking shape, especially where you see those yellows and bright reds there on your screen. All that activity continues to move towards the east. So just a little bit longer here for those of you listening down there from Richland County, Richland Center area. Temperatures right now into the 50s, low 60s, 56 in Eau Claire, 60 is the temperature now in La Crosse, 59 in Winona, and Viroqua, you're currently waking up to 57 degrees. And here's what it looks like throughout the rest of your day. Some lingering showers still possible through at least 7 o'clock, and then as we head throughout the rest of your day, we're just looking at mainly cloudy skies with temperatures well into the 70s here today, with some showers that could affect your morning walks, mostly cloudy the afternoon and also into the evening. As we take you into your allergy report, everything is high for the weed, ragweed, and mold. But this could be the last week of the high weed symptom index level. However, though, we'll have a check on your schoolcast plus your 4 weather forecast coming up in a few minutes. Dua?
Thanks, Derek. Well, let's get to some news this morning. An Altoona man has been convicted of numerous child sex crimes in Monroe County Court. A jury convicted 44-year-old Eric Wirth of 8 charges after a 3-day trial. According to the Monroe County DA, the charges stemmed from incidents between May 2017 and July 2021. Wirth had other counts dismissed, but the DA says those charges could be refiled in another jurisdiction. A sentencing date has not been set. Wirth faces over 150 years in prison, according to the DA. A man convicted of child sexual assault has been sentenced. 37-year-old Geronimo Hernandez Romero was convicted of sexual assault of a minor. Judge Elliot Levine agreed with the defense's recommendation and sentenced Hernandez Romero to 3 years in prison and 5 years of extended supervision. Judge Levine acknowledged the work that Hernandez Romero did while incarcerated to better himself during the sentencing. Hernandez Romero must register as a sex offender. He must also undergo sex offender treatment, can't possess or use illegal drugs or alcohol, and undergo alcohol use treatment. On Friday, police in Jackson County were called for a man armed with a knife who was fighting people in the town of Brockway. That's according to a release from the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. When deputies got to the scene, the man was holding the knife and attempted to shield himself near a statue. Law enforcement officials tried to negotiate with the man to drop the knife. The statement says when it was clear the man wasn't going to peacefully comply, officers started using beanbag rounds. Officers were able to arrest the man after that. During the investigation, deputies learned the man had put items under his clothes that would thwart certain law enforcement tactics. It also turned out the man had called 911 himself to bring law enforcement to the area. Honoring our veterans. Western Technical College held a ceremony to honor prisoners of war and those missing in action on POW MIA Recognition Day. The ceremony was held on campus at the POW MIA Memorial. That memorial is the only of its kind in Wisconsin. WTC President Roger Stanford says the memorial is important because it helps people understand what it takes to keep America safe.
So just understanding to be a citizen in our country, what it takes to get and keep our freedoms. That's why our memorial says freedom is not free.
There are over 81,000 Americans currently unaccounted for from wars dating back to World War II. Half of that number are presumed lost at sea. If you would like to visit the POW MIA Memorial, it is located next to the Lunda Center. Finding childcare just got easier for Gunderson Health System employees. Gunderson and the Vernon Area Rehab Center, or VARC, have teamed up to provide 30 childcare spots for Gunderson families at VARC's recently opened preschool childcare center. In return, Gunderson has committed to giving VARC some financial support for the next 3 years. The partnership has allowed VARC to increase pay for their child care workers. The program only helps Gunderson families, but Gunderson's president says she hopes other community groups are inspired by the partnership.
This isn't going to solve the community issue with daycare, but it's one step in the right direction. And I think if it shows anything to other community members and community businesses, just take a step in the right direction, and it just will slowly start chipping away at that iceberg that we're all trying to work at.
Gunderson already has a child care center for their employees that serves 64 kids. But Shimmer says there is over 200 kids on the wait list to join that center. Accessing child care has become a growing issue in the state. The Center for American Progress has found that 54% of Wisconsinites live in an area where demand for child care far outpaces its availability. On Wednesday, the Wisconsin legislature will hold a special session to address child care funding. Museum goers at a Minnesota art museum will notice some new exhibits. Over the weekend, the Minnesota Marine Art Museum opened 3 new exhibits. Each one follows the theme of the Big Catch. The paintings were created by Dwight Huang, Christina Breivik, and Kimball A. Bromley. One exhibit was focused on raising awareness for climate change. Others are focused on whaling and emotions from Moby Dick. Director of Communications Caitlin Cruchette says the art pieces help attendees get an in-person glimpse of the underwater creatures while still on dry land.
It's a really interesting way to see creatures up close that you would never get to see in real life, because they are lifelike prints of the actual creatures. So you get to see expressiveness and fish and squid and octopus in a way that you'd never get to see that close up.
Just like the other exhibitions at the museum, the Big Catch shows how water impacts marine life, animals, and plants. Hispanic Heritage Month is here. It celebrates the contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. UW-La Crosse celebrated the holiday with a lecture by history professor Victor Gonzalez. The lecture focused on the influence of Latinos in Wisconsin beginning in the 1760s. Gonzalez says it's important for today's youth to understand history because it can bring a sense of belonging.
It's important for folks to know about this and many other parts of history, because history helps us build our identity and helps us build our sense of belonging.
Hispanic Heritage Month lasts until October 15th. La Crosse has multiple events throughout the month to celebrate. We'll have a link with more information on our website, news8000.com. Today is National Voter Registration Day. The League of Women Voters will be at the La Crosse Main Library from 11 to 4 today to update voter registrations. They say it's especially important to check your registration this year. If you haven't voted since the last presidential election, your record may have been deactivated. That's because of a recent Wisconsin Elections Commission maintenance process. If you have any questions, you can contact the League at the email on your screen. The City of La Crosse will also be assisting people in updating their voter registration information at City Hall. According to a press release put out by the city, you can register in person with the city clerk's office from Monday through Thursday between the hours of 8 to 4. If you have a valid Wisconsin driver's license or ID card, you may also register online through myvote.wi.gov or by mailing a voter registration application form to the city clerk's office. If you register by mail, you will need to include a photocopy of your proof of residence. If you have any questions, you can contact the city clerk's office at elections@cityoflacrosse.org. Well, still ahead on your morning news, the Federal Reserve is expected to pause interest rate hikes this week. What that means for your wallet just ahead. And new reports are showing that almost half of college students have some sort of credit card debt. We'll have a few tips on how students can help keep their credit card debts low while still trying to earn their degrees. That and more is coming up this morning, but for now, we're sending you to break with something to put the good in your morning. An alpaca in River Falls is going viral after developing a taste for Starbucks. Oliver the alpaca lives on Eagle Eye Farm in River Falls, about 2 hours north of La Crosse. When his owner, Carrie Harding, took him to Starbucks, the baristas were delighted. The interaction got nearly 5 million views on TikTok. The farm also raises sheep, Highland cows, llamas, and English Angora bunnies. According to Carrie, their mission is to educate people, but there's also lots of room for fun. This year, the farm went with a Taylor Swift theme and named all its baby alpacas after her songs. Don't go anywhere. Your consumer news at News 8 Now this morning is after the break.
Oh, we're tracking some showers and a few thunderstorms right now on the radar, but these are mainly focused well to our south along our southern communities here this morning. And as we zoom in on some of those heavier showers, you can see areas like Richland Center still looking at some heavy downpours, especially where you see those areas right around the red area. So just south of town is where we're seeing some of those heavy downpours still moving through. Also looking at some lightning activity associated with some of those thunderstorms that are embedded with some of those heavy showers as well. Current temperatures are into the mid to upper 50s this morning. It's 56 degrees in Eau Claire. Temperatures in La Crosse currently measuring 60 degrees. And as we take a look at your zone forecast today, we're going to be looking at high temperatures reaching the mid-70s this afternoon, and 76 today in West Salem, 77 in Maduro, 73 today in Middle Ridge, and 76 in Shelby. Moving south into our southern communities, low to mid-70s today, 74 in Stoddard, 72 in Viroqua, 76 today in Arcadia, and a high of 75 in Osseo, 77 Melrose, looking at highs reaching 77 in the Eau Claire area with mixes of clouds and sunshine. As we take a look now at your schoolcast this morning, 61 degrees with some passing showers, again mainly focused down to the south. On the way back home, 74 degrees with cloudy skies. A check on that full weather forecast is still ahead. We'll talk about some possible upcoming rain chances later this week.
In your consumer news this morning, analysts believe that the Federal Reserve is planning to pause interest hikes this week. That's good news for consumers, especially those looking to borrow in the near future. Lower interest rates mean it might become easier to get a new credit card or get a loan for a house or car. The rate hike pause could also mean relief from high mortgage rates, which are up more than 6% from this time last year. National debt has reached an all-time record high. The total amount of national debt is at $33 trillion. That's according to the latest numbers from the Treasury Department. The milestone comes as the U.S. faces a potential government shutdown at the end of the month. The annual deficit, meanwhile, stands at $1.5 trillion, which is a 61% jump from last year. The government's fiscal position is part of an escalating battle over federal spending in Congress. Grocery delivery service Instacart has held its initial public opening. The IPO performed better than predicted by analysts. Selling at $30 per share, the company was able to raise $660 million and receive a $10 billion valuation. Last week, experts placed the company's valuation at only $7.4 billion. Instacart grew rapidly during the pandemic when many were unable to go to the supermarket to shop for food. Credit card debt is at an all-time high, and it's often college students carrying a balance, and often with interest rates topping 20%. Christine Lazar has a look at what students are buying.
College student Florentino Gonzalez uses his credit card for essentials like groceries and has around $1,000 in credit card debt.
$1,000 is still a massive amount of money for me as of right now.
A survey by U.S. News and World Report found 42% of college students are carrying credit card debt. And for 28% of them, that debt exceeds $2,000.
If you consider they probably also have student loan debt they're going to have to pay off when they get out of college. You know, when you add credit card debt to that, you know, that can really put them behind as soon as they graduate from college.
Credit card expert Beverly Harzog says the majority of students in debt didn't get there with impulse spending. Nearly half say they used their cards for school-related expenses, like books and fees. The other half say they need it for living expenses, and it appears students may not be fully educated on credit card terms and conditions. In the survey, only 19% knew how a credit score is measured.
I think this is where parents can really step in, make sure they understand how personal finance works so that they're prepared.
Harzog says if possible, students should avoid using the credit card until they can pay off the balance.
I pay it off every month on time, so if not, then you know what happens.
Experts say it's also important to create a budget and set up auto pay so you don't miss a payment.
Well, that's it for your morning consumer news. Let's check in with Derek and get today's forecast.
Thanks so much for that, Dua. We are tracking some showers here this morning on the radar, but they're mainly focused well to the south of us here this morning. And some of us are even waking up to some of those heavier showers, mainly down in the south. As you can see, areas like Richland Center looking at some heavy downpours, even a little bit of some lightning activity that's currently moving through. So I would say probably in the next hour or so, then we should be in the clear. And those showers, by the way, are currently moving their way towards the east. You can see areas like La Crosse County overnight saw a little bit of some light showers here this morning as well. The rest of those showers will continue to move their way towards the east, and by 10 o'clock this morning, I'm expecting the majority of us to be in the clear here, with some of those showers then focused mainly to our south and east by that point. 5 o'clock, the rest of us just looking mostly cloudy, a couple of light showers possible near the Chippewa Valley, and those will clear out later today. Heading into tonight, just some partly cloudy skies there, slight chance of a shower still possible. I think we see a little bit of some light chances of showers here as we head into the Chippewa Valley by 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, and they could linger here into the early afternoon hours while the rest of us just look mainly dry with some passing afternoon clouds. I'm watching this next disturbance down in the south that could bring some showers mainly across our southern communities by tomorrow afternoon, and then you can see them drifting their way towards the north as we head into tomorrow night. Some of those could produce some heavy downpours similar to what we had here this morning in some spots. All right, so current conditions down in La Crosse, 60 degrees. We are clearing out. Watch out for some wet streets out there here this morning on your morning commute, though. As we head to Eau Claire, you're much drier, cloudy skies, 56. East winds light at 6 miles an hour. Current temperatures across the board mainly into the 50s and low 60s. 56 in Viroqua now, with temperatures at 59 degrees if you're in Winona. So overall, a check on your planner showing that some of those showers here linger here for some of us, mainly down to the south through at least 7. Mostly cloudy, 69 degrees at noon. Mostly cloudy, 76 by 4. Then we turn mostly clear with temperatures in the upper 60s by 8 o'clock this evening. And our forecast high numbers today are into the mid 70s. So a very seasonable day today in Eau Claire with the 77 for you and 76 this afternoon if you're in La Crosse. All right, check on your 8-day forecast showing that we will be looking at another slight chance of a shower or two for tomorrow. Better chances, I think, for tomorrow night. I do have shower and storm chances for Thursday and Friday. First day of fall, by the way, is on Saturday. We'll see a break in the rain chances there before more shower and storm chances arrive Sunday, and then also again into early next week on Monday and Tuesday, with highs mainly into the 70s and low 80s, low temperatures in the upper 50s to low 60s. All right, stay with us. We're back with much more news and weather still to come on News 8 Now this morning. For now, we're sending it a break with a look what happened on this day in history for September 19th. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Blitz. It's going to be a busy week for high school sports. It all culminates on Friday with a few crucial conference clashes on the gridiron. But last night, the soccer field taking center stage. Let's go to La Crescent. Lancers at home looking for a win against Rochester Lords. First half, Eagles on the move. Check out the diving stop by Lancers goalie Cooper Johnson. He was busy all night. Then it's Isaac Lehman looking for the lead here, but his shot goes just a bit wide. Lancers almost break through. Other end, Rochester trying to sneak one through, but again, Johnson doing everything he can to keep the Eagles off the board. But La Crescent just cannot capitalize. Again, Lehman, this time he's denied at the net. Great save by the Eagles goalie, and Rochester finally gets one to go here off the corner kick. It's Eduardo Pena finding the twine. Then later on in the half, check out this pass right on the money to Aiden Kane, who finds the back of the net. Eagles go up by 2, and in the second half, PK for Rochester Lords. Jack Broadbent connects. Rochester takes a 3-goal lead. Lancers fall at home by a final of 5-1. Brewers beginning a 4-game set in St. Louis. Second, Freddie Peralta getting some help from his center fielder, Sal Frelick, going all out, makes an incredible catch before crashing into the wall. That keeps the Cards off the board, but Wilson Contreras changes that with one swing of the bat. A line drive solo shot in the fourth puts the Cards on top. That was more than enough for Adam Wainwright He joined some elite company, Wainwright becoming just the third Cardinal in franchise history to win 200 games. He's also just the 5th active player to reach that milestone. Special night for Waino. Brewers get shut out in St. Louis, 1-0. Twins in Cincinnati taking on the Reds. Minnesota down a pair in the 4th, but Royce Lewis cuts that in half. He crushes one to center. That ball's gone for a solo blast. Makes it 2-1 Reds. But Cincinnati adds a couple in the bottom of the inning. Will Benson gets all this one high and deep to right center. 2-run shot gives the Reds a 4-1 lead. Twins battling back though in the 7th. Alex Kirilloff lifts one the other way, and that ball's going to carry out. Kirilloff's 9th of the year cuts the deficit back to 2. But bottom 7, Reds get that run right back. Spencer Steer back up the box for a base hit. Jonathan India comes in to score to make it 5-2. Then Joey Votto adds some insurance. He scorches this one in the right. 2 runs are going to come in to score on this one. Votto extends Cincy's lead to 5. Twins fall in the series opener 7-3. That's going to do it for the Blitz. We'll see you tonight.
Five Americans who were released from an Iranian prison as part of a larger diplomatic deal have arrived back in the U.S. Ahmed Shargi, Morad Tabouz, and Sihamak Namazi have arrived by plane early this morning. 2 others freed Americans whose identities have not been made public also landed on American soil. The deal includes the U.S. unfreezing roughly $6 billion in Iranian funds. According to the Biden administration, the 5 Americans were wrongfully detained in Iran. This morning, President Biden is preparing to address the United Nations General Assembly in New York City. The gathering of world leaders comes as tensions remain high over the war in Ukraine. CBS News' Jared Hill is outside the UN with what we can expect today.
At this year's United Nations General Assembly, President Biden preparing to make a political power play on the global stage.
He has to go into this not just as the leader of the West, but as one of the powers competing for and contending for the support and allegiance of a wider set of countries.
Biden is expected to continue rallying support for Ukraine in its war with Russia, competition with China, and efforts to fight climate change also on the agenda. As over the weekend, climate protesters demanded action outside the UN. The massive gathering of world leaders is also an enormous security operation.
Their job is to discuss the future of our world, and our job is to make sure they can do it without disruption.
Authorities say they're not tracking any credible threats against the General Assembly this year, but with delegations from more than 151 countries here in New York at the same time, they're not taking any chances.
Sir, can you stick your arms out for me? Thank you.
From the ground to the skies, tens of thousands of officers have their eyes on New York City as the world watches.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is expected to speak today as well. He's addressed the body virtually in the past. Russian President Vladimir Putin is not attending this year. The Marine Corps has suspended all flight operations to review safety options. The pause is currently set for 2 days and happens following 3 crashes occurring over the span of 6 weeks. In August, a fighter jet crashed near San Diego, killing the pilot. Days later, a tilt-rotor aircraft crashed during military exercises in Australia, killing 3 and injuring 20 others. And most recently, a fighter jet went missing after the pilot ejected from the aircraft in South Carolina on Sunday. All 3 crashes are currently still under investigation and do not appear to be connected. Archery and crossbow deer hunting season is underway. The Wisconsin DNR is asking hunters to help prevent the spread of chronic wasting disease by following all baiting and feeding bans. Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is an always fatal disease that affects the nervous system of deer, elk, moose, and caribou. It is spread through saliva, urine, or feces. An easy way to help stop the spread is to refrain from baiting and feeding deer. Baiting is the intentional placement of a material to attract wild animals for hunting purposes. Baiting encourages deer to congregate in a specific area, creating an environment where infected deer can quickly spread CWD to others. Baiting and feeding bans are implemented when CWD is detected in a county to slow the spread of the disease. If you're unsure if your county is currently under a baiting or feeding ban, you can go to the Wisconsin DNR's website. Planned Parenthood has resumed abortion services in Madison and Milwaukee. It's the first time the organization has offered the service in Wisconsin since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade back in 2022. After Roe was overturned, providers in the state operated under the assumption that Wisconsin's 1849 law that banned abortion would be enforced. But a Dane County judge recently ruled that the law didn't actually apply to consensual abortion. After that ruling, Planned Parenthood decided to start offering abortion services again. The group said appointments at its Milwaukee office for yesterday were completely filled within 24 hours of announcing the services would resume. The Brewers are staying in Wisconsin for another 27 years. State legislators announced that they've reached a $700 million stadium deal with the Brewers to keep the team in Milwaukee through at least 2050. The deal breaks down like this. $400 million will come from state funds. That money would be raised in part by income taxes on Brewers players, visiting teams, and front office staff. $200 million will come from Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee. The Brewers themselves will pitch in the final $100 million. The deal comes after months of negotiations between state officials and the Brewers to keep the team in Milwaukee. A few Minnesota cities will be trying to combat the urban heat island effect by planting a few more trees. The effect occurs when the sun's heat is absorbed into things and released back into the air, which could make for some hotter area temperatures. Kristen Mitchell gives a closer look at how the new grant is hoping to help make future generations a little cooler from the ever-changing climate.
Frogtown is often one of St. Paul's warmest neighborhoods due to its low tree canopy coverage and minimal green space.
It is an environmental issue, it's a health issue, and it's an equity issue.
Great River Greening is trying to change that, thanks to a $10 million federal grant.
It is the largest grant we've ever received.
They plan to plant 14,000 trees over the next 5 years.
Great River Greening is partnering with 15 other groups to help plant and then nurture these trees. They're targeting identified heat islands in cities including Faribault, Owatonna, St. Cloud, Brooklyn Center, and here in St. Paul.
They have these, what we call a gator bag on the bottom.
The trees will have slow-release watering bags like these, planted by students outside Capitol Hill Gifted and Talented Magnet School.
As we're experiencing more drought and extreme weather and extreme heat, these are critical to ensuring when we put new trees in the ground, they're going to be healthy and resilient for years to come.
They'll be planted outside schools, parks, neighborhoods, and homes in urban heat islands.
I think there's going to be a lot of need in the future for how we look at our urban systems across the state.
Conservation Director Todd Rexine says this historic project will also help replace trees wiped out by emerald ash.
We have a dying canopy right now. What's the canopy going to be in 40 years? And it's really now we need to start planting.
The program will be rooted in environmental justice in lower income areas and communities of color, most impacted by climate change.
We know that trees are a really easily accessible piece of a nature-based climate solution, a way that we can combat climate change.
The grant was provided by the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Forest Service throughout the Federal Inflation Reduction Act. Now here's Derek to tell us what to expect for our morning commute.
All right, thanks so much for that, Duo. We're looking at mainly dry conditions now, but we're still watching some showers here that continue across portions of our southeastern communities, such as Richland Center. Still looking at downpours that currently move through your neighborhood this morning. Also looking at a little bit of some lightning activity associated with some of those stronger thunderstorms that are moving through. Boscobel looking at some rain here, also still pushing its way through your neighborhood as well this morning. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s, 56 in Eau Claire, 60 is the temperature now in La Crosse, and same to the east in Sparta. Baroque was at 56 degrees here so far. So as we take a look now at your forecast overall today, once that rain moves out, we turn mostly cloudy, 76 being the temperature, and overall a seasonable day. South-southeast winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. For tonight, temperatures drop to about 60. Still partly to mostly cloudy, slightly warm as far as our temperatures go. Southeast winds light at 5 to 10 miles an hour. If you haven't had a chance to mow the lawn yet, I think today will be a good day to do so. Once that rain moves out, mostly cloudy, 69 at noon, 75 degrees at 5 o'clock. I'll have a final check coming up after the break with another look at your weather forecast coming up in a few minutes. We'll talk about some of those rain chances. And coming up in our Buzz Report, an auction of Freddie Mercury's personal effects brought in more than $50 million in London. We'll tell you about the curious items that were sold just ahead. Well, things are looking nice and dry here for the majority of us, but down to the south, we're tracking some showers and thunderstorms. And as you can see, they're mainly over Richland Center, where we're seeing some heavy downpours that continue to move through. In fact, Richland Center all morning long, you've been looking at some heavy showers and thunderstorms that have continued to move through your neighborhood this morning. But all this activity continues to move towards the east. In fact, portions of La Crosse County saw the northern extent of that system that brought us some showers here overnight and also into early tomorrow, also into early this morning. But a lot of this continues to move its way towards the east. And as we take a look at Sky Tracker, you can see some of those showers that continue to move towards the east here, and it will continue to do so as we head to around the 10 o'clock hour or so here this morning. And then after that, we should begin to come to a close. 5 o'clock, looking at some light showers near the Chippewa Valley by that point, and then afterwards that should come to a close here starting later tonight. Just a few passing clouds here as we head into early tomorrow, with a slight chance of a shower or two near the Chippewa Valley here by around Wednesday morning or so. And then as we take you into tomorrow afternoon, some of those showers are still lingering up towards the north. A few leftover clouds here possible with that. Watching another disturbance down to the south for tomorrow afternoon, and some of those showers and storms could drift their way towards the north as we head into tomorrow night. Some of them could produce some heavy downpours once again, kind of similar to what we had here early this morning, so we'll keep our eyes on that potential. Other than that, 60 degrees is the current temperature now, with southeast winds light at around 8 miles an hour. And as we head into Eau Claire, you're currently at cloudy skies. Temperatures are at 56 degrees with east winds at around 6 miles an hour. And our current temperature readings are into the 50s and low 60s. We're seeing 59 in Winona, 60 in Sparta, and 57 degrees the temperature now in Viroqua. So overall, your planner looks like this. After we get through some of the showers this morning, we turn mostly cloudy throughout the rest of the afternoon today, with temperatures at around 76 at 4, 68 and mostly clear by early this evening. Forecast high numbers today mainly into the mid 70s, so a very seasonable day in terms of our highs, around 78 in Eau Claire today and a high of 76 this afternoon if you're in La Crosse. A check now on your 8-day forecast showing that we will be looking at some showers here as we head into the day on Wednesday. More better chances possibly into tomorrow night. And then as we take a look at Thursday and Friday, chances of showers and thunderstorms possible. First day of fall is on Saturday, and on that day I think will be a little bit dry with some more shower and thunderstorm chances Sunday, and again also into early next week, Monday and Tuesday, with highs into the 70s and low 80s and lows into the 50s and low 60s.
In our morning Buzz Report, an auction of music legend Freddie Mercury's possessions has brought in more than $50 million. The late Queen singer's belongings were sold by his ex-fiancée and longtime friend Mary Austin. Part of the proceeds will go to the Mercury Phoenix Trust and the Elton John AIDS Foundation. Items of note included the grand piano Mercury used to compose Bohemian Rhapsody, handwritten lyrics, and the rock star's silver mustache comb. Bill Maher will not be returning to the air after all. Last week, Maher announced that he would resume his show despite the ongoing Writers Guild strike. The move garnered significant criticism. That's in part because he himself is a member of the WGA. Now he's walking the decision back. Maher says his show Real Time will remain on hiatus until the strike ends. Maher claims his change of heart stemmed from the fact that the writers and studios have resumed negotiations.
All the fun stuff that happens at baseball games, fireworks, giveaways, you name it, they invented it.
We're going to do something that are going to make people sit up and take notice.
A new biopic with Charlie Day looks at one of the most fascinating figures in baseball history. The Saint of Second Chances is the story of Mike Veeck, the businessman and maverick who blew up his career when he organized the disastrous Disco Demolition Night at Comiskey Park in 1979. But he didn't give up, reinventing minor league baseball as the owner of the St. Paul Saints. The Saint of Second Chances is out on Netflix today.
Hey guys, my name is Steven, and I'm a music producer.
And I'm a very talented hairstylist, but most importantly, we're parents and we're a family.
Dad, will you play something already?
An Oscar-winning short film has been adapted into a TV show that will hit screens Thursday. Young Love is a new animated show that expands Hair Love, the 2019 winner of the Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. Like the film, the show is a heartwarming look at Black millennial parenthood. Its ensemble voice cast features Kid Cudi and Issa Rae. The series is run by Matthew A. Cherry and Carl Jones. Young Love comes out on Max this Thursday. Now, I know previously we talked about my favorite cartoon.
Yeah.
You mentioned SpongeBob, but is that like your official answer for favorite?
I think I have to go with that. I watched a lot of cartoons, growing up as a kid, but I think SpongeBob stands, especially like the old original ones that I grew up watching before I kind of outgrew it, going up to the teenager years. But yeah.
SpongeBob. What did you like about it? Because I personally haven't really seen.
I just thought.
don't know.
I don't know. I just thought it like he was just a funny sponge. You know what I mean? It was kind of silly. Yeah, I mean, it was just entertaining, like on a Saturday morning or something like that.
Nice. Yeah. I gotta say, mine was Cyber Chase. I think I liked it. I think that was the beginning of my obsession with like crime dramas. That they start them young. That was like an animated kids version of like CSI, basically.
Yeah, makes sense.
Well, before we head to break, it's time for today's Look Who's 8.
We got a couple of birthdays that we're celebrating. It's Hudson. He's our first one on the list, who's turning 8 months old. Now, he loves watching Dancing Veggies on YouTube, and his big brother, Lucas.
Rose is turning 80. She loves bingo, euchre, and spending time with her family.
All right, well, if you know a special someone that's turning 8 weeks, 8 months, 8 years, 18, 80, or 88 years old soon, we love to feature them.
That's right. Just upload their photo to our website, news8000.com, and look for the Submit Pictures button under the Home tab. Stay with us. We have everything you need to know today in 5 minutes or less. Your Morning News Now is up next. An Altoona man has been convicted of numerous child sex crimes in Monroe County Court. A jury convicted 44-year-old Eric Worth of 8 charges after a 3-day trial. According to the Monroe County DA, the charges stemmed from incidents between May 2017 and July 2021. Worth had other documents dismissed, but the DA says those charges could be refiled in another jurisdiction. A sentencing date has not been set. Worth faces over 150 years in prison, according to the DA. A man convicted of child sexual assault has been sentenced. 37-year-old Geronimo Hernandez Romero was convicted of sexual assault of a minor. Judge Elliot Levine agreed with the defense's recommendation and sentenced Hernandez Romero to 3 years in prison and 5 years of extended supervision. Judge Levine acknowledged the work that Hernandez Romero did while incarcerated to better himself during the sentencing. Hernandez Romero must register as a sex offender. He must also undergo sex offender treatment, can't possess or use illegal drugs or alcohol, and undergo alcohol use treatment. Planned Parenthood has resumed abortion services in Madison and Milwaukee. It's the first time the organization has offered the service in Wisconsin since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade back in 2022. After Roe was overturned, providers in the state operated under the assumption that Wisconsin's 1849 law that banned abortion would be enforced. But a Dane County judge recently ruled that the law didn't actually apply to consensual abortion. After that ruling, Planned Parenthood decided to start offering abortion services again. The group said appointments at its Milwaukee office for yesterday were completely filled within 24 hours of announcing the services would resume. Archery and crossbow deer hunting season is underway. The Wisconsin DNR is asking hunters to help prevent the spread of chronic wasting disease by following all baiting and feeding bans. Chronic wasting disease, or CWD, is an always fatal disease that affects the nervous system of deer, elk, moose, and caribou. It is spread through saliva, urine, or feces. An easy way to help stop the spread is to refrain from baiting and feeding deer. Baiting is the intentional placement of a material to attract wild animals for hunting purposes. Baiting encourages deer to congregate in a specific area, creating an environment where infected deer can quickly spread CWD to others. Baiting and feeding bans are implemented when CWD is detected in a county to slow the spread of the disease. If you're unsure if your country is currently under a baiting or feeding ban, you can go to the Wisconsin DNR's website. The Brewers are staying in Wisconsin for another 27 years. State legislators announced that they've reached a $700 million stadium deal with the Brewers to keep the team in Milwaukee through at least 2050. The deal breaks down like this. $400 million will come from state funds. That money would be raised in part by income taxes on Brewers players, visiting teams, and front office staff. $200 million will come from Milwaukee County and the city of Milwaukee. The Brewers themselves will pitch in the final $100 million. The deal comes after months of negotiations between state officials and the Brewers to keep the team in Milwaukee. Today is National Voter Registration Day. The League of Women Voters will be at the La Crosse Main Library from 11 to 4 today to update voter registrations. They say it's especially important to check your registration this year. If you haven't voted since the last presidential election, your record may have been deactivated. That's because of a recent Wisconsin's Election Commission maintenance process. If you have any questions, you can contact the League at the email on your screen. Today's clue for the Oktoberfest medallion has been revealed. According to the Oktoberfest Facebook page, today's clue is, quote, rippling rivers, pristine prairies, and bountiful bluffs. One's a more important clue, while the others are rebuffs, pretty parks, pleasuring playgrounds, and many a trampling trail. Pick the right ones and they'll help you prevail. The medallion is also within La Crosse city limits and is on public property and is not buried in the ground.
And as you head out the door this morning, just watch out for some showers across portions of our southern communities and Richland Center especially. That should clear out of here by the later morning hours. And as you can see, the rest of the day just looking mainly cloudy with highs into the 70s this afternoon. South winds 10 to 15 miles an hour. As we take you into the 8-day forecast, you can see that we do have another chance of some showers tomorrow and tomorrow night. I'm watching for more chances of showers and storms for Thursday and Friday, and then potentially again Sunday and also into early next week with highs into the 70s and low 80s, and we got lows into the 50s and low 60s. Good thing we got rain chances for the drought too. So.
You know what really makes it feel like fall?
What's that?
And I just realized the Oktoberfest
oh yeah, that's
stuff.
true.
Yeah, like that gosh.
The event
clue.
that we had.
The clue. I remember last year it being my first year in La Crosse and you know, celebrating Oktoberfest with everyone, and it really felt like, all right, this is the mark of fall. And I just read that trivia thing, and I was like, wow, you can say fall's here.
And it's right around the corner, and their first official day is on Saturday too.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
It's coming. The leaves are on the ground. Like there's quite a few today, and especially with the rain that was happening early this morning.
Yeah, and I've noticed that they changed color too, the leaves on the trees, so they're looking nice.
There's, if you drive further, I want to say like towards like past Winona, like into Minnesota, that type of area. The leaves are fantastic. There's like reds and yellows and oranges. It's so bright, so beautiful.
I love when they mix together like that.
I can't wait for that to happen here.
I know, it's exciting stuff.
Well, thank you for watching News 8 Now. We'll see you back here later today. Have a wonderful Tuesday.